Hi there. So in this episode we are going to add some drum loop to our percussions to make it more interesting. And for that purpose we are going to use very well known amen break loop. Let's drag it in to our clip launcher. Let's maybe change the color to yellow, and let's hear the loop. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure you all know it very well. It's a loop that's probably one of the most, if not the most, sampled loops in electronic music history, used in a lot of jungle, drum and bass, let's say general EDM music. So for our purposes we don't need the first half of the clip, so let's get rid of it. Let's cut it right here and let's remove that. Shorten the clip to only cover the second part. Here on top you can see the automatically detected transients, and as you can see they are not falling on the grid lines pretty consistently. Unfortunately in Bitwig I cannot select them all and quantize to the grid, but I suspect that a lot of this misalignment is a result of the fact that the kick drum itself, the first kick drum, simply doesn't fall on the grid very well. So maybe let's try to fix that first. Perhaps let's cut it right here. Let's remove that sample, and now in stretch mode let's simply grab that edge and move it here, so everything else stayed in place. I mean the end of the sample stayed in place. It was stretched to the beginning. Let's hear it now. Yeah, it's pretty good. I guess maybe there is a big there isn't a lot of fade in. Oh, it's fine. Okay, so let's now take care of those other transients which are not on the grid. So let's stay in the stretch mode, and we can, if we go down here, you see that there is a gray handle popping up. You can simply grab it to the grid. Find this way off. This taking so much valuable time, but it's important to have this aligned. Okay, we have something at the end, so we have a transient from next part of the song where it was sampled from. So let's simply add a fade out here. Okay, hear this now. Okay, that's pretty fine. It's pretty loud, so let's use the volume. Okay, And you know, we could slap a EQ 5 on here, cut down the low end, say 40 again. And we could basically call it a day, but as usual, we want to make it a bit more interesting, a bit more unpredictable. So let's grab that clip, right click on it, and select slice to drum machine. So now we have to make our choices. We want to bounce it before slicing, so to be sure that our edits are preserved. We want it pre-FX, so without the EQ5. Obviously that will be also pre-fader. 24 bits, okay. We want to slice it at quarter notes, so we will have 8 slices. So let's do that. As you can see, we have a drum machine track now. It doesn't have the EQ5, so we are going to grab it, duplicate it here. So let's disable our original track. Disappeared because we have the option enabled to hide all the disabled tracks. So let's play that now. Yeah, we don't have a volume adjusted, so let's go back to the previous volume. Okay, the clip doesn't loop. Enable the loop. As you can see, it's only 1 bar, so we have to stretch it to be 2 bars. Let's switch to normal piano roll view. So as you can see, we have MIDI notes going in the sequence from C1 to G1, and they play the drum machine, and each pad of the drum machine is obviously an instance of sampler with the correct part of the full sample, and we have EQ5 at the end. Okay, but yeah, this is pretty boring, so let's remove that, and let's duplicate first note. So now this is even more boring, because it only plays the first pad. So what we want to do is we will add note effects that impacts the notes of the coming to the instrument from the sequencer, and we want to move that note up to be cycling through all the pads. So in order to do that, we will add a random modulator, and that random modulator, we need to switch it to unipolar, so it only goes into one direction, and we will map it here to the semitones to be 7 semitones. Okay, let's hear that. So as you can see, every note hit generates new random number, and this random number simply is added to the root note generating the sound here. So that's pretty random right now. We can obviously maybe add one more note here. Maybe let's make this one shorter, it's delayed, maybe let's delete this one. Sorry, that wasn't my intention. Okay, so we have a pretty random pattern going. I would also like to add some effects to that. So as usual, let's add an FX layer. With one empty layer, which we will call through, and one maybe delay 2. But I don't want it to be triggered every time, just sometimes. So let's in order to stop the sound, we will put here tool. It's not perfect because it doesn't go to -infinity, but for our purposes that's enough. And let's add steps modulator that we know already. Let's set it to, let's say, 7 steps. As you remember, I like weird numbers. Let's make it free running in 8 notes, or maybe quarter notes. Let's connect that to the amplitude. Yeah, fine. Okay, let's hear it. So it passes through signal all the time, but most of the time it's very quiet. Move it out a bit. Okay, let's maybe find something more attractive. Isn't it? This can be fine, but we need another tool to increase the volume. and dynamics device, which is basically a compressor, to maybe tame that top end a bit. Okay, that's very nice. Let's hear this context of the loop. Maybe have the main signal in mono. And the affected signal let's add a side splitter. And disable all the mid information and sides. Let's make them louder. Yeah, that's very nice. In the mixer we can see all the pads from the drum machine. We can also see the bass line, our main bass and sub. So that's also pretty useful. We can disable devices or effects and so on. Okay, that's quite a lot of sound and music coming from just 4 tracks. So yeah, see ya in another episode.